Hi everyone, my name is Hillary Wright,
And I'm Elizabeth Ward.
and we are the authors of the Menopause Diet Plan. And so we have taken to having fun dressing down or exploring different topics related to nutrition.
Mostly
and we got
ranting.
a special request from my friend Claire. Special shout out. She wanted us to do one of these about inflammation.
Okay.
So inflammation, as we know, is kind of involved in pretty much every chronic health problem you can think of one way or the other, but we could definitely use a solid definition. So Liz,
Right.
what is inflammation all about?
Okay, so like when you cut your finger, right, and it gets red around there, that's inflammation. And inflammation is good, right? Because inflammation brings the heat to the injury, and it gets it. It starts to gets the blood going, gets the bad stuff away from the injury, and the good stuff there, and it usually goes away. But the problem with the chronic inflammation that Hillary is talking about is, it's like your body is constantly on fire inside, and you don't feel it if there's no heat involved, but it's a good visual. It's like everything's inflamed inside, and that's not the kind of inflammation we want. That's bad inflammation.
No. I mean, we know that inflammation is critical to human existence, but it's supposed to kind of come in, like the tide, solve a problem, and then like recede. We know that there are some health problems that are pro-inflammatory things gone off the rails, such as COVID-19 infection.
Oh, yes.
Is an overreaction of the immune system that involves a lot of inflammation. We know things like rheumatoid arthritis,
which is an autoimmune disease.
And I think fibromyalgia, is that pro-inflammatory?
I'm not really sure.
But so there are known conditions where inflammation kind of comes and sits on us, and they are pretty, they impact your health a lot. So the problem with modern life is as much about modern life that kind of is triggering inflammation in us regularly. And so fortunately, there is the influence of diet, primarily plant-based diet and some other aspects to help kind of keep it in check. But what are some common things that we're exposed to all the time that are aggravating inflammation?
Smoking, air pollution, things like you mentioned, part of modern life, sedentary diet, standard American diet.
Sedentary lifestyle.
Sorry, sedentary diet, you just sit there and eat, right? That's a new diet. I'm going to invent that one. So sedentary lifestyle, which is a modern phenomenon, basically. Poor diet.
And by that, she means eating a lot of processed food.
Highly processed, ultra processed.
Eating a lot of added sugars and eating a lot of red meat.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you can't not eat. Right. You don't have to eat. It's just diets heavy in red meat and ultra processed foods and added sugars are considered pro-inflammatory.
Exactly. And so those are some of the things. And plus we said air quality, air pollution, secondhand smoke is inflammatory. So there's a lot of things in the environment. So you need to do what you can do with your lifestyle to mitigate that, to help reduce the effects. And you mentioned some of the diseases that are affiliated with inflammation, but the
arthritis is.
But what about cardiovascular disease?
Well, cardiovascular disease,
cancer,
pretty much every chronic disease. Yeah. Inflammation is very involved in cancer development. So, for example, we know that if people have reflux that's not well managed, and there's regularly acid secreting up into their esophagus, that can cause continuous inflammation that may raise their risk for esophageal cancer.
Right.
Diabetes is a pro-inflammatory condition. Having high blood sugar causes a lot of inflammation in your arteries, and inflammation in your arteries sets the stage for cholesterol to come and start building up and clogging our arteries up.
Right.
Inflammation is not good for your brain.
No.
I mean, again, the way I like to think about this is, we have an immune system that's part of its function is to try to, let inflammation loose, to solve a problem, rein it in. But we are supposed to give our body an assist with, the foods that we're eating that can additionally back up our body's ability to defend us against not just chronic inflammation, but oxidation is another big problem. A lot of the things that you mentioned also produce a lot of free radicals, a lot of pro-oxidative things that aren't good for many aspects of health too.
And you don't want your cells to be oxidated. That's really Hillary's point, because anything like, rust is oxidation, right? So you see something that's rusting, you go, oh, that is deteriorating. It's the same thing with your cells. We don't want your cells, I don't want my cells to be oxidized. I don't know about you. So inflammation is about as much as what Hillary's talking about in terms of what's in the diet as it is about what's not in the diet. Right. So again, back to a plant-based diet, not an animal-free diet necessarily, but one that is mostly plants will provide the antioxidants.
So part of that, to actually bridge back to another video we did about the gut health, the fiber in food can help to feed that healthy bacteria in your gut, which is anti-inflammatory.
Yep.
And then on top of that, we have, tens of thousands of compounds in plants that we call anti-inflammatories, antioxidants, natural detoxifiers that help to back up our immune system, neutralizing inflammation and oxidation, helping our body detoxify itself. And those compounds, we lump them together, we call them phytonutrients. So everybody's heard of phytonutrients. If you ever heard that red wine is good for you, dark chocolate, green tea, these things are high in anti-inflammatory properties and antioxidants. So healthy eating for that reason is much more about what you are eating than what you're avoiding. Meaning, yes, it's important to not OD on ultra-processed foods and red meat and too much added sugar, but just taking those away without adding, to your point, going out of your way to actually eat 2 or 3 servings of fruit a day, 2 to 3 cups of vegetables a day. Like those are actions you actually have to take to make it happen. Right. And that doesn't just happen because you stopped drinking, soda.
Right. And, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the role of body weight and inflammation, especially in menopause. So this is where, we don't want to make anybody feel bad, but belly fat is pretty pro-inflammatory, and it can wreak havoc on the rest of your body. There's something about fat around your abdomen that is just not the best location. So,
and I do believe it's a dose-dependent
yes,
response.
Absolutely.
So and that any amount of weight loss is going to be beneficial.
Right. But it is a pro-inflammatory tissue, and as much as you can control that, go ahead. But I think, to your point, including more plants, being fuller on less food is going to help with all that. So, regular physical activity is going to help as well.
We forgot to mention seafood.
Oh, yes. Omega-3s.
Omega-3 fats are very anti-inflammatory. In fact, if you look at the Mediterranean diet pyramid, the base of it, we love the fact that at the very bottom they have like be with people, and they have people dancing and laughing and socializing. But most of this pyramid is taken up by colorful fruits and vegetables and whole grains and nuts and seeds and beans. But the next level up is seafood. And that's because the omega-3 fats in seafood are very anti-inflammatory.
Right.
As are the omega-3s, probably not as potently, but the omega-3s in plants like walnuts and flax seeds and, plant foods in general, having some plant-based omega-3s that are also going to be anti-inflammatory. So
they're very good.
We would be remiss if we didn't really say, if you decided when you were really little that you don't like seafood and never tried it again, do try again, because it does appear to be a really important part of an anti-inflammatory diet.
Right. And the dietary guidelines say you should have at least 2 fish meals a week. So I guess we'll leave it at that, because this one is wicked long. This video,
it is.
As we
it's
say
a pretty
in Boston.
Complex subject, but hopefully that helped.
Yeah. All right. See you next time. Bye.